What's up everybody, Jackson here, and today I would like to talk about the Dark Souls Remastered on the PlayStation 4 for a bit. Now, I was able to play this game completely free since Sony doesn't give a shit if two people swap primary consoles and play one version of the game, so I was able to play with my little brother Ty on his version of the game, and so I was able to play it for free. Now, I want you to keep that in mind because I think my criticisms of this game and honestly the anger I had at points would have been much more if I had paid my own $40 for it, especially considering the copy of Prepare to Die on PC that I have only cost me 20 bucks and is arguably the better experience once modded with Durante's DSfix and Toology's HD Retexture pack mods. Performance-wise, the version of the game I played on my PS4, it's kept a steady 60 FPS as far as I could see, and that's admirable since so many companies have released these obviously nostalgia-driven half-assed remasters and haven't even accomplished that. Keep in mind, however, that this change and many others were instituted in Durante's DSfix mod, which was developed and released to the public for free by a single man. Sadly, the native capture on the PS4, which is all I currently have available for capturing footage there, is absolute shit, and therefore the frames will not be represented in the footage I'm using here, which this is PC footage you're seeing right now. I'm only going to use the remaster footage when I need to make points because it honestly doesn't look as good as the PC version even with the 60 frames, but with 29.7 it's glaringly obvious that it's worse, and that's why I'm not going to point that out because they got it running a steady 60 frames, and to my eyes it stayed steady 60 frames except for when I was having some issues with the co-op server when I was with my brother. But other than that, it stayed pretty steady 60 frames, at least to me. I couldn't, I'm sure someone could hook a meter up and give you exactly where the dips are and everything, but to me it was negligible, if anything, to the PC version with the DSfix. I now want to discuss the lighting and textures in the two separate versions of the game and explain why, in my opinion, Prepare to Die modded by two people and released to the owners of the game for free is superior. I'm going to be using just a few specific examples, but more can easily be found throughout the course of the game. These are just the things that irked me the most. In the beginning of Sen's Fortress, there's a hidden wall that you can access after a pretty wicked fall. Behind the wall, there is a ladder that leads up to a narrow chute, which leads to a giant enemy and a beautiful view overlooking the undead parish. Now let's see the same thing in the remastered $40 version of the game. The lines in the chute are way more obvious and immersive breaking. In the Prepare to Die's version of the game, the lines exist, yes, but are way less severe, and unless you are really looking for them, would kinda slip by unnoticed. Now, whether this is tied to anti-aliasing or the texture rework, I'm not sure, because I don't know a whole bunch about it. I'm not a seasoned PC veteran. All I know is that I find it fucking inexcusable that two people released a free update, free patch to the game, to the players for free, and they did a better job patching that game than the studio who released the unfinished product in the first place that precipitated the need for them to patch the game. They basically repackaged what these two dudes did to the Prepare to Die edition of the game, only shittier, and then charged $40 or $20 for it. And I find that kind of fucking ridiculous. One thing that is absolutely unique to the remastered version of the game, and was honestly fluffed up quite a bit prior to release, is the new lighting system. This lighting system makes the game darker, and in some places just downright more ugly than the modded Prepare to Die edition of the game. Most noticeably to me was the way that the Darkroot Garden just seemed to become bland and uninteresting under this new lighting, and how even some of the textures there changed colors and became noticeably uglier. In the Painted World, one of my favorite areas, the lighting changes on the snow was so drastic that it just looked ridiculous to me. Overall, it's my opinion that the Prepare to Die, with Durante's DSfix and Toology's HD Retexture mods installed, is visually the superior version of this game. Now let's talk briefly about the mechanical changes to co-op and PvP, and things that stayed the same. Invaders and summons now bring over half the Estus that they had in their world, but not always. There were many times I would have 20 Estus in my game and be summoned into my little brother's game and end up with 2 flasks for whatever fucking reason instead of 10. This made it extremely difficult on us since we were getting invaded by what seemed to be the same 3 builds that were devastating to our health pool. And I mean, these are the same 3 or 4 builds that have been passed around and shared within the PvP community for years. Why From Software wouldn't try to balance this game better with PvP in mind and vary the builds out, but instead decide to make people who are just there to enjoy the PvE content in the game lives harder by giving access to invaders to a refillable, expendable hill is absolutely fucking beyond me. In the original iteration of the game, invaders could only heal by using miracles, which cost precious stat points and took away from your damage, unless you were building miracles, presenting to the player a difficult choice when building for evasion. Plus, you couldn't always rely on this hill, because the cast time was very long and it would leave you vulnerable to attack from the host. You could also heal back in the original game by using consumable humanity within the host game. And although humanity could be farmed in the game in several areas, this took time. Okay, by allowing invaders the use of Estus within the host's world, you have removed an advantage from the host player. And let's face it, they're already pretty fucked to begin with. The invader only has to worry about the host, while the host has to worry about the invader, the environment, and all the enemies in the fucking area. Now, since they can heal, they just blitz upon the host with an overpowered build that they obviously looked up since they look like the last asshole who invaded, just with a different username, and either murder the host outright or now simply flee into some mobs and use the heal that From Software has granted them. This is the same system in place in Dark Souls 3. But there, with the sped up combat and more balanced and varied builds with the PvP system, I didn't mind. In Dark Souls Remaster, I find it absolutely beyond stupid, and if I was not playing with my little brother, would have set the bitch to offline from the start. It's stupid that in order to play through this game and see its beauty with me as a guide, his first playthrough was tainted by bullshit mid-maxers and overpowered late-game builds, taking advantage of the clunky, imbalanced PvP and now having expendable hills at their fingertips. That's coming from someone who absolutely abhors the PvP in this game though, so keep that in mind. That said, at the end of the day, Dark Souls is a gorgeous game that offers an experience every human being should attempt at least once in their lives. My opinion. My first playthrough was on the PS3 version of the game, and even then I fell in love with this world, and I'm better able to appreciate how good it looks on the remastered version of the game compared to the PS3 version. I'm glad that everyone on the console has a better option for this game now, but I'm extremely saddened that this What the fuck? Is the best experience that From Software thought that you deserved. That's it for me, everyone. Take care, and as always, much love for watching and hanging out. Let me know below what you guys thought of the remaster if you got a chance to play it, or what you thought of my video even. Till next time, keep being awesome. Take care.